I guess there's something that they call a leak. I don't know what it's called, but it's when they put an epidural in your back, and if there's a hole left over, if there's a leak, it causes, I don't know, they call it some kind of headache. I don't even remember what it's called, but this headache. That, remember I told you the lady was messing with my epidural and it was all weird. I had this severe neck pain. It was so unbearable. It was worse than my contractions. This is to kind of give you, if you've ever had a baby before, that neck pain was worse than the contractions that I was having when I came to the hospital. It was bad, so bad. I could barely walk. It hurt so much. My back was hurting. Of course, there's, the tear that's a little sore, so for walking. Mind you, I was anemic, so I passed out a couple times. They kept me at the hospital. Of course, they keep you there until you have, till you pee. I couldn't do it. No matter how much I concentrated, I just could not do it. I was there for days and I could not pee. And they don't let you go home until you pee. So they had a catheter that they took out for me to pee. I couldn't pee, so they had to put it back in. I had a whole liter just sitting in my bladder that they had to take out. And I'm like, why didn't I feel any of that? So those are some of the effects of the epidurals, that you can't really function like you want to down there. No matter how full you are, it is what it is, right? So there's that. I went to the restroom. The pain was so bad. I lost a bunch of blood. And I closed my eyes. Next thing you know, it's a room full of nurses putting all kind of chemicals around my nose just to kind of wake me back up. Like, I think I passed out probably like twice. I don't remember. But I know one for sure was in the bathroom when they had to come and get me and do all this crazy stuff. My neck situation, they couldn't figure out what was going on with it. So I had to get a MRI, which I hate that machine, just to try to do that, right? And so when they figured, like, okay, there's something wrong with your brain, so now we're gonna go ahead and assume that you have a leak from your epidural. What you can do is to get a blood patch. And I'm thinking, okay, that sounds easy. Quick, get it done. Get me out of this hospital. I want to go home with my baby, right? So they do this thing. This was probably like the most painful experience of my life. So get ready for the blood patch. Nobody can come in there with me. My husband couldn't come. At that point, I knew something was crazy. Something crazy was about to happen. If my husband can't come in there with me, I'm like, can he please come? They're like, no, he can't. He can stay outside the room, but he can't come in there. So what they do with the blood patch is they take blood from your arm, and they take that blood and they put it through the needle. They put the catheter, the needle catheter, in your back, take the blood, put it in there. And it's supposed to kind of, I guess, coagulate. I don't know what the word is. Coagulate, whatever. The blood to close up any holes or leaks in your spinal cord. So there's no, cerebral spinal fluid leaking in your back. And that's supposed to relieve the pain immediately. Okay. So when I got in there, first of all, I hate needles. I'm terrified of needles. So this whole pregnancy process was tough for me with the needles anyway. So if I could avoid them at any cost, I'll say no, 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 no. But if I had to do it, of course I had to do it. So I had one person on one arm taking the blood. I had someone putting an IV on the other arm. And then I had the lady who did the anesthesia in the first place in my back, putting the catheter in there, putting the epidural needle in there, all at the same time. I don't know what it is about the procedure. I don't know if this was standard or if they just wanted to get the heck out of there. They wanted to go home. Maybe it was 5 o'clock. I don't know. But there's 3 people sticking holes in me at the same time in 3 different locations. Like, who does that? And so then they took the blood, one arm, IV, ladies in my back, and the back, because my back was already hurting. When she was going in there, it hurt so bad. And again, I felt it in my leg. And so when they gave her the blood, she went straight to pushing the blood in my back. And I screamed like I'd never screamed before. That was so painful. I don't know if anybody else has had a blood patch. If you do, please comment down below and tell me what your experience is. I don't know if it was just me. I don't know if my nurse was my neurosurgeon, not neuro, but I don't know, my what do you call those doctors? Anesthesiologist was heavy-handed. I don't know what it was, but it was so painful. It felt like someone was stabbing me constantly, and not even a constant stab, but more like somebody was stabbing me and turning it in my spine. And I screamed and I dug into the nurses that were in front of me, and I tried to they were holding me down. It was bad. Needless to say, it worked. The pain in my neck was there no more, so it was a good diagnosis, I guess. So that was the worst part of it all, was the blood patch. And my OB kind of like warned me about passing out anyway before, because take your vitamins, girls. Take your vitamins. It's very important. Take your iron if you're iron deficient, or if you have any blood issues. Take it. I was not very consistent, and they warned me, there's like, you may pass out if you lose enough blood, or you may have to do a blood transfusion. Thankfully, there was no blood transfusion, but I did pass out. By the grace of God, my iron level was super high when I was giving birth, but as soon as I had the baby, it shot all the way back down. So that's where all that stuff started happening. And I'm glad I had enough strength for the baby, but I wish I would have still had it for after. But anywho, that was that process. Eventually, I got better. And now I'm here. Like, everything worked out perfectly fine. But that was my experience. After, a day or two, they sent me home. I went home. Everything was fine. When I got home, I had a moment. I didn't have any postpartum depression, thank God. Because if some of you all don't know, I had a history of depression before, but so that was something I was very on top of, making sure that I was mentally like stable. Everything was fine. Like, I didn't get too low. Like, if I noticed anything, I would always talk to people. Like, that was very important to me. Make sure the baby was safe, and to make sure that my mental health was good. After I went home, I had a moment where I just cried, because during the hospital, I was in so much pain, I couldn't really care for the baby. My mother-in-law and my husband had to, take over, because I couldn't hold the baby like I wanted to, like standing up or doing anything like that, because I was passing out. They didn't want me to. I could barely walk up straight. I was in so much pain. On the bed, like sitting down, my tailbone was injured. I had hemorrhoids and I had stitches. I could barely sit for a long time. I was either laying down. So they did a lot. When we went home, it was kind of like that, first too. So I was feeling kind of bad, and I was like, why can't I take care of the baby like I want to? I feel like a terrible mother. And they just reassured me, like, hey, you need to get well, get better soon, and then, we'll transition. He's fine. He's loved. He's taken care of. We're good. I was in so much pain. I started to nurse, but I just couldn't. So he went on formula. And then we started alternating formula, because I was pumping. That helped a little bit, especially with the engorgement. But he's on formula now, guys. I wanted to give him the best option, but there was way too much going on. It's hard to breastfeed when you're going through a rough recovery. So I was trying to do it all, and I just couldn't. And I had to be realistic with myself. I want to give him the best, but I have to do what's good for me as well. And I'm like, ain't no babies died from formula that I know of, so he's gonna be okay. So it took me a while to recover. And by then he got used to the formula, and I was like, you know what? Formula it is. There's no need to even try to do all that breastfeeding stuff. And he was tongue-tied, so imagine how painful that is. Now we're home, we're happy, one big happy family, and it is the best experience, the best decision of my life. Like, the best choice my husband and I made together was to bring him into this world. Oh, the nasty part. There's this thing that comes. There's some things that come out of you post birth. Um, you think it's your period, but it's not. It's just your cervix and your uterus just kind of cleaning itself out. Um, so I thought, oh, this is a period. My period's like this. I'm straight. It was light. It wasn't heavy at all. Even though they send you home with those big old diapers, when you get by the time you get home, it's like it's not even necessary to have those big old things, because it's pretty light and you don't feel any cramps like that. Not those kind of cramps. You may feel like contractions to where your body is kind of getting back, but it's not like a period cramp. Um, they tell you that your very first period after you give birth is different than what your periods normally are. It can be super long, or a little bit shorter, or it can be very painful, or you can feel nothing at all. It really depends. I don't know what the formula is, but all I know is I didn't feel any pain at all. Thank God. And after that, you go for your 6-week checkup and they make sure everything's fine. Your stitches are good if you do have stitches. Um, and they clear you for work. But anyway, I just wanted to, let you guys know about my experience with childbirth. It was amazing and scary and different and exciting, adventurous, a whole bunch of things all at once. Um, and painful. But I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. So yeah, guys, thank you for listening to my birth story. Hopefully it helped you a little bit on, what to expect, what not to expect. If something happens, don't find it strange. Things like that. But yeah. Bye, guys.